I'm Habit, and this is Factorio Space Exploration Plus. And we are coming back in a little while after when I left off last time. I'm still waiting on modules. We're going to have to work on a module build for as many as we're beginning to consume and use. We need more modules, and that'll come down the road. Right now what I want to do is go ahead and finish the rest of our setup up here for our steel before we get distracted. I want to be able to have that up and running, and so what we need to do now is the iron plate smelting. You may have noticed down here where I have been putting in just a blanket area of stone bricks. That's like my blank canvas, I would say. I put down a bunch of stone bricks and then I come in and put other tiles in around it, over it, and replace it in order to make things look the way I want, such as I'll have a breakaway path that heads up here, probably do something different than the stone brick under the machine, something to kind of highlight them, make them pop a little more. But for now, I put stone bricks out. Also, because I'm trying to get rid of this little stone patch here, this 1 million stone that's left in this small area, and I needed to empty our warehouses of stone brick, not completely, but a good bit, so this would just run wide open and chew through some of this stone. And then obviously once this is gone, I can just pick this little setup up and feed it with our stone bricks and our glass and everything else that we have being made on the line. We can get rid of all of these little things. In fact, I don't necessarily need to buffer this sand here anymore either. Probably need to stop doing that. But before I get too distracted with all of the other little bitty things that there are to do, we need to head back up here and figure out how we're going to set up our iron plate smelting area. And I've been thinking about it a little bit while I've been working on other things, and what I think I'm going to do is set it up north to south with the lines. Where am I going? So what I mean by that is that I'm going to grab a blueprint, like this. I want it to run from north to south, input to output, and then I need room to balance and sort over to here. So what we should probably do is go ahead and look at giving a small gap down at the end. I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4 is probably a good enough gap. We'll make it 6. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we need to double that. Hello, give me a blueprint. Thank you. So we've got 16 belts that are going to balance and then go into all of these right over here. And this is all of our iron plate feeding in. And I'm trying to think here. How do I want to balance this? Because I have a few different balancer designs. If I go through here, we should reach a point where, oh, we hit blue belt, or reds. I didn't want to go all the way into that. Somewhere I have some 16s. Oh, these are red. Well, maybe I accidentally got rid of the blue belt balancers. Looks like I did. Okay, so I will have to grab one of those from Factorio prints to place down in here, because I definitely want to be balancing it before it goes into all of these lines, because we're going to be feeding 16 separate smelting lines, and those will be feeding into these 8 lines that condense down to 4 blue belts of steel out. So I will do that, and I will be right back. Okay, we have our balancer, and it is a monster. We're going to place this thing down. Just look at that. That's crazy. But this is supposedly a one that doesn't cut down on the throughput. So you may have noticed in some other areas where I was using balancers. Actually, I think I've cleaned up all of the ones that had throughput issues. And then these are all just 4 to 4. Yeah, but sometimes what happens is when you set up a balancer, such as something like this, if you're not getting a full belt from both inputs, the way it works is you'll end up with having extraneous outputs. Let me change to something a little different, like this. Let's see. There's some crazy ones. A 5-to-1 balancer. But, oh, here we go. This is a really good example right here. If, say, you weren't getting 4 full belts in, you will not get a balanced output. If, say, the second from the right belt here wasn't a fully saturated belt, what that will cause is anything that splits off of that, such as the far left output, will end up being less than the other outputs that come from the 2 that have the more that are full. I'm explaining that poorly, but essentially this doesn't allow for unlimited throughput, whereas this one allows for unlimited throughput even if you are lacking in certain inputs that are coming in. Hopefully we won't be lacking, because we are talking about an extensive amount of steel. But now we've got to come up through here and branch each of these off where they belong. Whoa, going crazy. That's the wrong way. When I get to flipping belts like crazy, I end up making mistakes. You got to pay closer attention. But now, this means that our outputs can come out down here and loop back around, and I still need to figure out how I'm going to offload the trains over here as well. Whoops. I don't want to use my belt. I want to tell the robots to bring it from the base. And we need to get all 16 of these set up properly, so they are getting fully fed in order to get our blue belts of steel out. But this is going to be a lot of steel. This will last us for a little while, quite a little while, and allow me to start producing the space components that I want at a much higher volume, because as of yet I've been unable to do that at a really high volume because of my steel, my plastic, my glass is just not producing enough. And now we are about to have that problem solved. We already have most things taken care of. The only thing that I will have to start doing is utilizing our smelting of our copper for definitely. That one's going to be heavily utilized here shortly, because when we finish with this, I think the next thing we need to do is set up circuit builds. Green circuits and red circuits absolutely need to be produced on a much higher volume than I am right now. And that's going to require a vast amount of copper and some stone, but not anywhere near the amounts of stone that it will take the copper. I also want to look at, before I get too involved in other things, if there's a planet that doesn't have enemy biters that I could go to and start bringing resources to space automatically, set up making rockets, processing the resources there, loading that rocket full of those resources up, and bringing that back. It sounds like a daunting task, but the first step of that is to get there, put a landing pad down, and then develop a way to get back from that planet reliably. Alright, so that sets up all of the belts feeding out. Now we need to look at... I haven't cleared this area out completely, so we need to come in here, clear things out, let the bots pick up any of the rocks, and then set down, probably starting with our trains. How are we going to unload the trains once they're unloaded? You know, how are we going to fit a stacker in here? How is this going to tie back into the rail? We need 4 trains, each one bringing 4 blue belts in. So in order to get to 16, we need 4. And I already have that set up. That's the setup that we're using for our trains down at our our copper and our iron setups. So we can just snag that after I get this all cleared out. This is starting to get to the edge of where I went around and cleared everything. Okay. So let's look at this. Another thing I need to know is, can I fit all of these smelters that I want to fit in here? And it's looking like that's a no. Yeah, that's going to be kind of rough. That's okay. I can always move this maybe to the other side, or I can swap it around. In fact, I can just move it up and over. The only thing I need to do is cut those lines, and then empty this out somehow by using a lot of stone in our processing down there, because I have these warehouses of stone sitting right here, which I can also just have my robots move it and they'll come empty it, and then I'll end up with vast amounts of stone sitting in my storage warehouses. But let's look at how we're going to do the trains. I don't want the trains to stick down super far. I want to try and have the trains be very close to the top here. I'm trying to make this a little bit more compact rather than taking up vast amounts of open space in our build. Now here, this is going to be smelters, but there's open space here, there's open space here, open space right in this area, and I need to start thinking about how I could better design these things. Again, I'm very new to this, so I'm learning on the fly, because I don't usually build these modular setups, and I usually use trains just to go to outpost and bring resources back, and I build giant belt bases. I'm trying to do stuff a little different. Learn different ways to do things. But part of that is I don't know how to best prioritize. Do I take up more space? Do I conserve the space? Am I being efficient here? You know, those sort of concerns. So if I wanted to, say, shrink this down to take up less space, but I want to still have a large stacker, I need to turn the stacker so that it will fit, just like we changed how it goes. Well, we didn't really change how it goes here. We altered it slightly, but I'm talking about, let's do this. Grabbing the stacker, coming up here to where we are, and turning it like this, so that the trains will come in at the bottom left and then go out at the top right. And this will allow me to put this up here and expand it drastically out in this direction. Now I'm going to need to go up here so I have vision to put this down. But I want to look at, if I do that, then the trains have to come from the top and go down. And so far I've been coming from the bottom, right? Well, right here we come from the top and then go out. So I could use a design sort of like this one. No, not sort of like, exactly like this one, just not as many slots up here. And that would give us exactly what we're looking for, and we'll just feed in from the bottom. So this is another thing we're going to do. So we're going to grab from this point, and I only need 4 trains. The through line, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4 trains in this setup. And I need to grab a little bit of power, but not these extra bits and pieces. So we can get rid of all of this out here. And we'll obviously get rid of all of the belts. Let's see, do we have any splitters? Does not look like there are any splitters here. But what I want to do is get rid of all of these items except for the power substations at this far edge. And that will give me what I'm looking for minus this. And then I want to set this up in a way that I can fit a train line in here and also exit back to the line. So I need to go up a little bit more and make that happen. Uh-oh. Some of my poor construction bots are getting destroyed constantly at this spot. And also, I'm out of ammo. I need to change that to a requester chest. I need to do this, I need to do that, and then I've got to do this. Your factory has a larger honey-to-do list than your spouse. Honey, do this, honey, do that. Always something over here. I need to leave room. I don't want to squeeze it right up against it. I need to leave that little gap here. So what is that? That's a 1 train gap, 1 rail gap. So I want to leave that as well, right up here. And this will keep things looking pretty uniform too. Now, I also want to leave a gap on the other side of this line. I left 6 right down here, 6 in between this point and the edge of the machine, and I want to leave 6 on the other side as well. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that sort of works. There's the way trains work, they are tied to a grid, so it's not exactly right. We've got 7 spaces here, but if I move it over, we'll have less, and I'm okay with having the 1 extra. So now I know that this needs to be the output line, the return line to our train network right over here. And I need to run every so often, put a marker down for the placement of where I want this to go. Now, same deal, all of these roboports are in the way. We are going to move them to inside of our train system temporarily until we figure out exactly what we're going to do. I could also just incorporate roboports in the train blueprints if I really wanted to, but I'm not sure that's what I want to do just yet. But I definitely want all of these out of the way. And I could use the deconstruction planner with trees and rocks only. I've seen people commenting about that. I do that sometimes. I try and keep one deconstruction planner on me and then just change the settings every so often. But I don't have that many to remove, so I'm not that worried about it right now. Yes, come take all of that stone off of me. Now this is where we want to grab the blueprint. And we know that this needs to be our outbound. So we've got to be able to tie into that somewhere. But also, this line is going to be what comes from our stacker. So let's grab this piece. And I don't want to put it down just yet. But I know it's going to come from here, from one of these, and then go into our setup. So let's figure out how far away from this line we need to be in order to make that curve. So this is the point that we have to fall out at. On the right hand side, let's grab our blueprint, and I am filling my inventory up with blueprints again. So I have to do something along the lines of that, but I also need to make sure that we can come in, I think right about there, was that where that was? I need to make sure that we can come in from this feed line. So I need to know, okay, so something along the lines of this. Let's take a look. We're getting better. This tells me how far down, and this tells me how far over in order to place this blueprint. So I need to come down just a touch more, and then over to right around in here. That should be perfect placement to come in and set this up. Now we just need to take and get rid of our little mock rail pieces. Did I place all of my rail down? I'm losing my mind over here, looking for it right now. We won't need any of these pieces because we're going to tie directly in here. And that gives us our loop out, and that will take us back to our main train line. We can also get rid of this, and we can come from here and tie in. So now we just need to build the stacker off of this. And this will give me 16 blue belts of iron out. 4 from each of these trains. But I definitely don't want warehouses right here. I don't want to be holding a load of iron ore. I'm going to have steel chest. I'm glad I noticed that before they placed those. I am going to have steel chest here. So we will swap all of these around. I was going to see if you can turn that around while it's ghosted, but it doesn't look like it. Because this is going to be our iron ore coming in, not an output line. And now we're looking at our stacker. And I'm thinking I probably want to have multiple trains. I probably want a little bit of a larger stacker here, so I can have trains waiting that are coming from different mining outposts maybe. Because this is going to take a just massive amount of iron. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to probably go with at least 12. So let's add 3 more. 12 to 4. No, let's do 16. Let's do 16 in the stacker, which means I need to add 4 additional ones. And that looks really giant. It's a massive stacker, but that means I'll be able to have 2 trains in the stacker for each of these unloading areas. So I can have trains coming from multiple different loading locations, picking up iron and waiting here for their turn to go in. And now we've got to do some stuff here. What I could potentially do, really janky, and just for now, rather than, no, I'm gonna have to move this anyways. That's right. Okay, so I was gonna say we can just tie in with this line that I have existing for offloading from the line, but that'll look terrible. I need to come up with a way to add this line in. Actually, that one's really simple because it's on the right hand side. We're not crossing any lines. All I need to do is come up to here and also, what is it? Right like that, and then set it up with some signals. Uh-oh, do I not have any signals? Well, that'll be an issue. Bring me a handful of each of the signals. That way I can set this up. Oh, hey, this is perfect. You always want to try and do a full signal on the outside, the exiting a intersection, and then a chain signal going into an intersection. It makes things flow a lot smoother. Why does this look weird? It's that one rail. There we go. And we need to power this somewhere that won't look awful. Something along the lines of that. And we're good to go. That could be powering this up. This is a really good place to put down a radar, somewhere right in this area. That'll give me vision over here so I can continue building. Okay. That was super simple. This one, not so much. So what we're going to need to do is move this junction completely, and they are just constantly attacking down here. I'm going to have to do something about them. But let's head right up here and tear this up. Just say get rid of it. And then I'll come in and add the correct junction. Okay, so this is going to have to shift just a tad, and that's all right. We are not using this line. This line would be the return to the rail line. We're going to be using the receive from the rail line. Well, they'll be exiting here and coming in right down here. Perfect. And I'll leave that just for the simplicity of it, and so it'll look okay on the map. I don't need the RoboPort there, or the big power pole. And this gives us an area to offload the trains. It's not taking up too much area. It's not looking awful, so we're going to go with that. Next, we're going to need to set up how we will unload and then make it to our smelting arrays that we also have yet to place down. Just so this will be an engine, and these are our cargo sections. We're just going to prototype one real fast, and then we will move everything via blueprint to the other ones. After I get a good concept here, making sure that I am achieving what I intend to achieve with this. It's very similar to what, or it's exactly what we've been doing at other train unloading stations. But I'm particular in the way I like things to look. So I want to visualize it a lot of times to make sure I'm not putting down something crazy beforehand. And we will not be balancing these prior to them going into smelting lines. They're going to come down and go directly into smelting lines. There will be zero balancing on the input side because we are balancing on the output side of the smelting lines. So get those placed, and then this will also help us figure out what would be good placement for our smelting array. Get these placed down. And now we need to come 16 out from this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That is 16 belts out from this spacing, which means that we can place down our furnace arrays right over here. Now, just for simplicity, I'm going to make this line up like so. And I'm actually going to drop it down 1. That way our first line just comes directly down, and then each one will go down and then branch over, and it should help it look pretty good. Again, aesthetics are something that I try and do a good job with. And that'll happen like so. And then I can just branch off each one. Actually, let's give it spacing like this. Trying to figure out which one I think will look better. And I think that's what I'm going to go with there. Yeah, and then the next one will come down from the next train and move over. But this is only half. I need to put down the other half, and since I left more space here, I definitely know I'm not going to have the room to keep this here. This is going to have to move, definitely, in order to make room for our build here. However, that's probably going to do it for this episode. I'm going to finish setting up our other half of our smelting lines and run the belts there and get this thing situated and ready to rock and roll. We won't have the modules for everything yet, so that'll have to wait. That's moving very slow, but I'll get this ready to rock and roll off camera, and then next time we come in, we'll look at our next build. But we're pretty much figured out what we're going to do for the second part of our still smelting here. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to give the video a like, and if you want to see more content like this one, like this video, consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you all next time.